भारत सटीक और निर्णायक प्रहार करेगा।
What happens when the world's largest democracy begins silencing its citizens? When did the birthplace of Mahatma Gandhi start disowning his message? When does a nation built on tolerance and diversity begin criminalizing difference? And when nationalism stops being a unifying force and becomes a weapon of fear? Ask any BJP supporter, and he will open up his WhatsApp to tell you about Modi's achievements in the economy, defense, and foreign policy, and might tell you things that might be as true as capturing of Lahore port by Indian army, or Modi might stop the war between Ukraine and Russia. But in reality, Modi has dismantled the pillars upon which India used to stand. Since Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power in 2014, India has undergone a historic transformation. One that many argue has cost it the very soul of its democracy. Once celebrated for its secularism, free press, and peaceful multiculturalism, India is now under the spotlight for rising authoritarianism, religious polarization, suppression of dissent, falsification of history, and an alarming decline in global moral credibility. The institutions that once served as safeguards of Indian democracy, from the courts to the press, have been steadily weakened or brought under the influence of a hyper-nationalist regime. Internationally, India's moral high ground has eroded, with major democratic allies now raising serious concerns about human rights, extrajudicial operations abroad, and the collapsing free press. This script is not just about politics. It is about a national identity crisis, a cultural fracture, a descent from pluralism into propaganda, and a country at the edge of forgetting what it once stood for. The most significant shift in India's political identity since 2014 has been the institutionalization of Hindutva, the ideology of Hindu supremacy. While the BJP governs the country, its ideological engine is the RSS, a paramilitary organization with a vision to make India a Hindu-only nation. Under Modi's leadership, Hindutva has gone from fringe philosophy to official policy. The result has been a direct assault on the secular fabric of India, enshrined in its constitution since independence. Modi himself has been a radical butcher face of Hindutva ideology since the time of the Gujarat massacre of Muslims in 2002, where he, as a chief minister, facilitated the open attacks on Muslims in Gujarat. Religious minorities, particularly Muslims and Christians, have come under sustained attack through state-backed legislation and violent mob campaigns. The Citizenship Amendment Act, passed in 2019, explicitly discriminated against Muslim refugees. Interfaith marriages are being criminalized under anti-conversion laws, accused of being part of a so-called love jihad, a conspiracy theory used to justify vigilantism. Data from Hate Crime Watch shows that hate crimes against Muslims rose by over 65% between 2014 and 2023, often perpetrated in the name of cow protection. The consequences have not only been legal but deeply cultural, changing the way India sees itself and how the world sees India. Another alarming trend has been the active revision of Indian history to serve the BJP's political agenda. The government has systematically altered school textbooks to remove or reduce the contributions of Mughal rulers, secular leaders, and non-Hindu movements. Mahatma Gandhi, once the moral spine of Indian nationalism, is being steadily erased from public discourse. His assassin, Nathuram Godse, a former RSS member, is now being publicly praised by elected BJP MPs like Pragya Thakur, who called him a patriot. While Gandhi's message of non-violence and inclusivity helped India achieve independence, the current regime seeks to replace that vision with one rooted in revenge, religious identity, and majoritarianism. Statues of Gandhi are disappearing while temples to Godse are being constructed. This shift is not merely symbolic. It is philosophical, a rejection of unity and an embrace of sectarianism. Under Modi's rule, dissent has been redefined as sedition. Peaceful protest is now criminalized. Laws like the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act and sedition laws have been aggressively used to jail students, journalists, and activists, often without trial. In 2023, Rahul Gandhi, leader of the opposition Congress party, was controversially disqualified from parliament over a defamation case tied to Modi's surname. Student leaders such as Umar Khalid and activists like Sudha Bharadwaj have spent years behind bars without convictions. According to the National Crime Records Bureau, UAPA cases rose by over 70% from 2016 to 2021, but less than 3% resulted in convictions. These laws are not about justice. They are tools of political suppression. Even international human rights groups like Amnesty International India were forced to shut down operations after relentless state pressure, tax raids, and freezing of accounts. Once lauded for its vibrant and independent press, India's media landscape today mirrors a one-party echo chamber. Major news networks have been acquired by corporations allied with the ruling regime. NDTV, a bastion of independent reporting, was bought out by the Adani Group, whose CEO is closely tied to Modi. Investigative journalism has been replaced by loud, hyper-nationalistic anchors who promote the government's narrative and demonize opposition voices. Journalists like Ravish Kumar resigned, citing institutional censorship, while others, including Siddique Kappan, were jailed simply for attempting to report on violence against Dalits or Muslims. India has now fallen to 161 out of 180 countries in the World Press Freedom Index. The Pegasus spyware scandal revealed how Indian authorities allegedly used Israeli military-grade surveillance tools to spy on journalists, opposition leaders, and even judges. The line between journalism and government propaganda has not just been blurred, it has been erased. Nowhere has the BJP's authoritarian impulse been more visible than in Kashmir. In August 2019, the government unilaterally revoked Article 370, stripping Jammu and Kashmir of its special status. What followed was one of the harshest crackdowns ever seen in a democratic country. Complete communication blackouts lasting over 213 days, mass arrests of political leaders, internet surveillance, and the deployment of hundreds of thousands of troops. Reports by the United Nations and Amnesty International have documented widespread human rights abuses, including arbitrary detentions, torture, and extrajudicial killings. What was once India's crown has now become the world's most militarized zone and a black hole for the press and civil liberties. Prime Minister Imran Khan of Pakistan warned the world about the possible outbreak of war, that this action could lead to, and it certainly is, a nuclear flashpoint between Pakistan and India, as well as China. He also pointed out that the radical ideology that Modi follows is nothing but believes in racial superiority, just like that of Nazi Germany, and will certainly lead to ethnic cleansing, not only in Kashmir, but all over India. Between 2020 and 2021, India witnessed the largest protest in human history, as over 30 million farmers, many from the Sikh-majority Punjab, rallied against 3 agricultural laws designed to corporatize farming. The protest lasted over a year, during which over 700 farmers died, and protest sites were barricaded, tear-gassed, and vilified. Rather than engage in dialogue, the Modi government labeled peaceful protesters as Khalistani separatists and foreign-funded agents. Surveillance drones hovered over encampments, and internet blackouts were enforced. While the government eventually repealed the laws, it never apologized or held itself accountable. The lesson was clear. Dissent is allowed only if it doesn't challenge the state. National security and blaming Pakistan for it have become an electoral strategy under Modi. In 2019, just before the general elections, the Pulwama attack killed 40 Indian soldiers. The Indian Air Force attacked Pakistan with a strike on Balakot, claiming to destroy a terrorist camp. But satellite imagery and independent assessments found no evidence of such a facility. And in return, Pakistan Air Force attacked a sector headquarters in Indian-occupied Kashmir and shot down 2 jets while capturing an Indian pilot. Again, in 2025, weeks before elections, India claimed that Pakistan attacked Pahalgam and killed its citizens. Several international outlets pointed out a lack of evidence, and when things couldn't go right, India attacked Pakistan and in return lost its 6 planes. Recently, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Quad refused to back India's allegation on Pakistan, marking the first time global forums questioned New Delhi's narrative so publicly. The tide has turned. India's credibility on international terror claims, especially against Pakistan, is no longer taken at face value. India's moral standing on the global stage has deteriorated sharply. In 2023, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused Indian intelligence agents of assassinating Canadian Sikh leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar in British Columbia. Soon after, US authorities revealed plots by Indian agents to assassinate another Sikh activist on American soil. India denied both allegations, but the damage was done. Human Rights Watch and Freedom House have downgraded India to partly free, citing consistent democratic backsliding. The European Union Parliament passed resolutions criticizing India's record on religious freedom and press rights. Even longtime allies like France, Germany, and Australia have raised concerns about human rights and freedom of expression. This is no longer the India of yoga, democracy, and spiritual wisdom. It's an India increasingly seen through the lens of surveillance, control, and authoritarianism. India today faces not just a political crisis, but a moral and spiritual one. What was once celebrated as the world's largest and most diverse democracy is now a shadow of its former self. Minorities are demonized, journalists are jailed, and opponents are labeled traitors. Public discourse has been replaced by propaganda, and Gandhi's ideals replaced by Godse's vengeance. The international community is no longer silent. Allies are skeptical. Critics are growing. India may still be an economic giant, but it is a shrinking moral force. Its soul, once defined by pluralism and compassion, now drowns in chants of division and supremacy. But democracies don't die overnight. They erode gradually through silence, complicity, and fear. The question is not what Modi has done to India. It is what India will do about it. Can the republic be saved before it forgets what it means to be one? The world is watching, but more importantly, India must watch itself.